Hi, this is Ron Reis, a.k.a. the Yeti, and you're listening to InYourHeadOnline.com.
All right, we are back, and we're joined by Ron Reis. We want to welcome you to In Your Head.
Thank you very much.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I think the intro's got a cold, though.
Yeah, just a slight cold. I think I was misinformed.
What's in, Ron?
You guys getting snow up there?
We're supposed to get like a foot of snow here. I live in Massachusetts. We're supposed to get a foot of snow Friday.
Are they going to shut down the town, or... I live in Atlanta. If they had a foot of snow down here in Atlanta, they'd shut down the whole entire town. They'd go crazy. Wouldn't know what to do.
Oh, man.
He lives in Cape Cod. That town's already shut down.
It's a happening town here, Sandwich, Massachusetts. It's good times there. No, I was wondering because you're a big guy,
right?
Yeah. How you doing health-wise?
I'm doing good. I hope. I don't want to jinx myself, but I probably could be in better shape, but I probably could be in worse shape.
Do you have any nagging injuries from wrestling?
No, I'm just normal stuff. Nothing too crazy.
That's good.
I didn't take those huge jumping off the cage bumps or anything like that. So luckily I'm not too bad a shape.
Yeah, definitely. We earlier in the show I mentioned that the first time I ever heard of you or saw your name was back when I used to read the Apter magazines, and they'd have some news about you. Big Ron Studd, and you're trained by Big John Studd. Was that true? Were you did he actually train you?
Yeah, I was. I was playing basketball in Europe, and wasn't very good enough to make it to the NBA, and I didn't want to get a real job. And my basketball agent knew Big John Studd and was like, hey, give this guy a call. And I gave him a call, and he was looking to get back into wrestling, and we were going to tag team. That was the idea. And as I was getting ready to wrestle, he got sick with cancer and passed away. So. But I did train with him, and I trained at Killer Kowalski's in Boston. And I guess it was in Malden at the time.
Yeah.
So.
Was there anybody else that made it in wrestling in the school the same time as you?
Paul Levesque, just as I got there, he had left, and Perry Saturn and John Cronus was there. Cronus was a phenomenal athlete. He's a pretty big guy.
Yeah.
He was doing backflips and all kinds of shit. And then there was, I guess China had come right after I left. So it was, there was a lot of good talent there. It was crazy. And it's just, everyone wants to make Killer Kowalski School of Wrestling this great place, but it was pretty much just a karate studio. A rinkety old ring in it,
Mm-hmm. Was he actually
that ring you can pick up anywhere?
Was he actually there, hands on, or was it just kind of
he was there. He'd get in the ring every once in a while with you, but it was a lot of just learning through the other guys.
Who were some of the other trainers there?
It pretty much just was Killer Kowalski, and there was the guy who trained. Who's the guy who has all the Prince Albert in the WWF or WWE? What's his name? The guy who trained him but he never really came around as much. Mike Hollow was there quite a bit, and he was pretty good hand. He knew what was going on, and he trained me a lot too. So it was a lot of that stuff, and then I came back down, and WCW was like, "Hey, come down here to Atlanta and try out." And I drove down to Atlanta and got in with a power plant, and got some good training there with Sarge and Jody Hamilton, the Assassin, and all those guys, and Pez Watley, and just went from there.
Was it as crazy as they would show on TV, the power plant?
When I first got there, it was a very bad situation. Everyone knew wrestling was a work, but they didn't want anybody to know. So the first day you get there, they beat the living crap out of you. If you come back, then they start letting you know that it's a little bit more of a work, So I remember those guys the first day, Paul White, he was the Giant, and I guess he's the Big Show now. They were all over me, and there's all these just huge guys there. Their whole idea was to blow you up, doing those squats so bad that you couldn't move, and then they just get you in the ring and tear you up. It was brutal. Every day it wasn't that brutal. We did ham it up a little bit for TV, but it was pretty tough.
Yeah. Back when you gonna tag with Big John Studd, did he have hopes of maybe getting another run in WWF or WCW, you two as a tag team?
Yeah, I think at the time everyone was really looking to go to WCW just because they had the guaranteed money, and then the work schedule was so much easier. Hogan had really come down there with all his buddies and stuff, and he really got it going. So I think at the time maybe Yokozuna was the only guy in the WWF that was big, but a lot of the bigger guys had moved down to Atlanta. So I'm sure either one of them would have made us happy, but it was probably, at his age, he was looking more for the Atlanta deal.
Right.
Everyone wanted that deal.
Mm-hmm. When you were in the power plant, did they ever think of some other names for you to debut you on TV before the Yeti?
Well, the Yeti thing was Hogan was Kevin Sullivan was trying to feed Hogan all his old buddies from the WWE and get them going. And the Yeti was actually supposed to be John Gonzalez, and then they brought him down to go do the taping, and he left with physical problems. And as soon as they did that, they called me up and all right, you fly down, you're the Yeti now. So
was it always supposed to be was it always that same look? Because it's called the Yeti and you break out ice, but you're dressed as a mummy.
I don't think there was too much thought into this. I had to feel they were just really going with it, At the time, I had no creative say. I was just happy to be there,
Yeah, definitely.
But it was really what is going on?
Right.
It was all the Dungeon of Doom. It was all Kevin Sullivan and all those guys who were in charge, and they had all these great ideas. So.
Who was what did they call him? The father was King Curtis Ikea.
King Curtis, Sullivan, my son. He was good. There was a really good group of guys in there. The One Man Gang.
Oh yeah.
Hugh Morris was really good. He was just on the scene, new on the scene. He was really good. And we just had a pretty fun time doing it,
The Gang was in pretty good shape at that time.
What's that?
And Gang was in pretty good shape at that time.
Yeah, he was. He could move pretty good. And then the Shark was there. Mm-hmm. It was, they had a good little we had a good little group,
Yeah.
Haku was there.
Ming, yep.
So it was all pretty good,
When we had Hugh Morris on, he said he was always thinking about doing a Dungeon of Doom reunion, at a convention. Would you be up for doing that? Well, would you?
Yeah.
Would you get in full Yeti attire?
I'd have to find some Yeti attire, but yes, I would come back. I'd sign in sand only, or ice.
Why isn't there a Dungeon of Doom Legends action figure set?
I have no idea. I need to call up Jax and tell them that they need to start doing that. I'd definitely like to do that.
Yeah, the guy from Jax actually.
How come they don't have an NWO one?
What was that?
How come there's not an NWO action figure?
I don't know.
Is that just they have to pay so much money for it, or?
Well, you think WWE would just own it all anyway.
Right.
The guy from Jax actually got in contact with me after we had Outback Jack on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I got him in contact, and they actually put out the Outback Jack figure, and he said he'd send me a case of figures for hooking them up. I don't see any figures here.
Well, I'll make you a deal. I guarantee you, if I have to buy them myself, if you get me a Jax contract for the Yeti, I will personally bring you a case of Yeti, personally autographed action figures.
Oh man,
that's a pretty sweet deal. Hello, eBay.
We got Kicks on the line.
Hey, how are you, Ron?
How are you?
I'm doing really good, thank you. I wanted to ask a couple questions. Well, my first question was, I guess, what were your memories, I guess, working with, being part of the Ravens flock? You know.
I really enjoyed the Ravens flock. I think the main problem with the Ravens flock was that at one point we were so successful that people that were in the upper card guys got a little jealous of our success, and I think they might have squashed it. So it was really good. I remember we were in an arena one time, and Lodi was in the Ravens flock. This is before he got hurt, and the whole entire place was like yelling, "Lodi sucks, Lodi sucks," and I'd go in the back, and everyone was really pissed that they were yelling at Lodi and not yelling at any of the other heels. So I think we were a victim of our own success, but it was a lot of fun. And those guys were, definitely a different bunch, but all in all, they were really good guys.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your favorite guy in the Ravens nest?
Oh, my favorite person? Oh, man. Either probably, I like the obviously Raven, and you, of course, Reis, and Billy Kidman was also one of my favorites.
Billy Kidman was good. We never got to do much tag team stuff, Billy Kidman and I, on television, but we did a lot of good stuff on house shows.
Yeah. I guess my second question was, were there any long-term plans for the Yeti character? After Halloween Havoc.
I have no idea. I think there were, but I don't think that it really panned out for him.
Did Hogan ever want to work with you, like a one-on-one match, like get to slam the Yeti, drop the big leg on you?
I would have thought, but it never really worked out. Hogan, I didn't even think he knew I existed, and then they called me up one day and said he wanted me to do a movie with him, and so we did some movie up in Canada. And the only reason he really wanted me was because he knew that I was a lot bigger than he was, and he could beat me up. So I was like, all right, whatever,
Right. Who said he was like the double? Was like you and the Giant were doing the double bear hug?
No one had any idea what was going on. There was nobody saying what's going on.
Right.
For the show. So they just said get in there and beat the crap out of Hogan. I was like, all right. And I got in there. Paul was bear hugging from the front and bear hugging from the back, and everyone said I was trying to hump him, and I wasn't trying to hump him, but it looked pretty good on TV. I think that's one of the greatest top 10 moments in wrestling history. So.
Oh, definitely.
So made the blooper. At least I made some highlight film.
Did you have anything else there, Kicks?
I'm sorry.
No, just nothing else. Just want to say thank you very much for the call. Thank you.
Thanks for calling in, man.
Thank you.
Do we have any more callers?
Yeah, we got another caller here. Who is this? The 479 area code.
Hey, Jack. It's John. Sorry.
That's no problem.
Didn't realize you had queued me up already.
Yeah, we're not keeping you on hold tonight.
All right, you have to forgive me. I'm a little stupefied this week. Had some little health issues.
All right.
I wanted to ask Ron one question. I know you had some tours in Japan. Did you enjoy Japan? Because I know some guys don't like Japan that well.
I did like Japan. It was really good. The first tour I went over there was the Super J Cup with, believe it or not, it was Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, just some really good wrestling on that tour. It was awesome. And then the second tour I was over there,
envious.
I saw one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. It was Eddie Guerrero as Black Cat Tiger Mask versus Benoit in the semifinals of the J Cup, and it was awesome.
Oh,
One of the best matches ever. If you can find it on somewhere, definitely get that tape. It was worth it.
I had one more question. If the opportunity was right, are you healthy enough that you could work again on a show?
Yes, I could.
Awesome. I'd like to try to get into promotions, and you were one of the guys that I've always thought, I think they squandered him when they had him.
Right.
And I've always thought that there'd be something that they could do with you, just get you over like $1 million. And I thank you for
job with the
answering the
WWF.
call.
No problem.
Jack,
very
thanks.
smart wrestling fan there.
Yeah. Thanks for
Hey,
calling
Jack,
in,
I'll
man.
let you boys go.
All right, thanks for calling in.
All right, bye.
We got Jason here on the line.
How's it going, Ron?
Good. How about yourself?
Good. I just want to know what it was like working with Dusty Rhodes and TCW.
It was a lot of fun. Dusty Rhodes is a very creative, very amusing individual, and we had a lot of fun. I got to see a lot of the smaller venues in the Southeast, and it was quite an honor to wrestle Dusty and have fun with him.
All right, well, thank you.
Well, thanks for calling in, Jason.
Oh, no problem, thanks.
Yeah. The Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling, did you think it would last longer, or?
Yeah, I definitely thought it was going to be a long-term deal. I mean, I was sort of in negotiations with WWE about coming to work for them, and then they said that they wanted me to go to Memphis for 6 months, and I was like, I think I can learn more and get more experience just wrestling with Dusty. So I chose to stick with Dusty, and we were running 3 or 4 nights a week, doing really well. But the problem is, in Georgia, there's so many just bootleg wrestling federations that guys would come in a week after we were there and have put on a terrible show for half the price, and you just kill the crowd. So it was just really a tough thing to do.
When WCW folded, and did you find the independent scene there wasn't as much out there as you expected?
There's a lot of independents in the Southeast. It's just that they don't really pay a lot of money, and you got to drive pretty far. So, when you balance it out, it's just really not worth it, Mm-hmm. You could wrestle anywhere in Georgia. There's always a show somewhere in Georgia every night. It's just, it's really some bootleg, backyard wrestling. And backyard wrestling at the time was really big, so it was, tough.
Did you have a question from the message board, Incher?
Yeah, I actually have a question. Tugboat from our message board, he wants to know, you talked about Paul White earlier in the show. He wants to know if you are, in fact, taller than him.
It all depends on who's wearing what shoes. The Big Show's been known to have some Kiss boots on that make him a little taller than me.
Right. But
I will say that I believe in barefoot I'm taller than he is, but he's got me by at least 100 pounds. I mean, he's a lot wider than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And we were both absolutely dwarfed by Giant Gonzalez.
Well, when they were doing the World War III, when that started, I remember the first year they said there was going to be 3 giants, and it ended up being you and Big Show, the Giant. And then,
right.
The third one, they just kind of said it was Hulk Hogan, which
seemed
like it was just kind of like a cop-out. Was that supposed to be Giant Gonzalez?
It was supposed to be Giant Gonzalez, and then they were supposed to bring me in from Japan to be the Giant Ninja as the third person, the third giant. And then when that all backed out, and then they had all the troubles at Halloween Havoc, they were just like, I guess, hey, we're going to just go 3-man battle, 60-man battle royal.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, it was like the first big match I've ever had, and I was nervous. I didn't know what to do, and I got in the ring, and Brian Pillman turned my mask backwards. And by the time I figured out where the hell I was on the floor, already flipped over the top rope. So.
Did anyone else ever play any ribs on you in the ring?
No. The next year I got to stay in the Battle Royal quite a bit, and I was one of the last 20 guys, and they put me in the corner, and then everyone came over and gave me a big splash in the corner. That was pretty good. And that was just about it. I remember that. Yeah, that Battle Royal thing was pretty good. It just never really crossed over.
Yeah. I actually always thought instead of doing the 3 rings and it was all split up, if they would have done it 4 rings and they could have just made one big square, I thought then you wouldn't have had all the wasted space on the TV set.
Right.
Yeah.
They really wanted to do like a NASCAR theme where they had like the 3 cameras, and then they could, shoot into this ring for this spot, and shoot into this ring for that spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good idea.
Yeah, and I thought maybe if they would have incorporated more like spots where they could have threw, like maybe the cruiserweight guys would have done springboards into the other ring, and maybe the big guys could have thrown some guys over into the other rings. Like, did you guys go over a lot of the spots before the match, or was it just kind of like thrown together?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, they pretty much just said, like, you 10 guys are going into this next ring, and that's about it. Hey, congratulations. Right. These are the last 5 guys, and this is, the last 3 guys. And it was like, all right, great. So, it was sort of like our WrestleMania at WCW, because they flew damn near everybody in for the thing,
Yeah. Now, since you were like a real big young guy, maybe you didn't notice this like at the time, but like looking back, do you think anybody like might have been kind of worried for their spot because they got this new big guy and maybe told you like some wrong advice or anything political?
Everyone was pretty friendly back then. Diamond Dallas Page took me under his wings, and he was pretty good about that stuff. I just think, there was so much cliqueness at WCW that if you weren't in the clique, you weren't going to really go that far. I think there's only a few guys that, really weren't in the clique that made it, Chris Jericho and a couple other guys, but, there's just so much that, NWO clique, and everyone else was expandable.
What were your thoughts on Scott Hall and Big Sexy Kevin Nash?
At one time, they were like the hottest thing out there. Everyone had an NWO shirt on, and people honestly don't remember how crazy it was. I remember I was traveling with Scott Norton one time, and we left a building. We were driving down the road. We must have been 50 miles away from the building. We stopped off at a gas station to get some sodas and stuff, and some guys had followed us the whole way playing the NWO theme music. It's like, this guy could I mean, it was that big of a deal. Everyone had on NWO and For Life and all that. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, because I was a wrestling fan my whole life, and the only shirts I really remember seeing, like, just seeing everywhere, was Austin 316 and NWO shirts.
Right. I mean, it was crazy. And then when they had Sting, they pretended like Sting changed the NWO. I mean, people were, like, really pissed. It was like, to work, guys, come on.
Right.
So, I mean, that was when wrestling, I really think, in the modern age, was its best. I mean, you turn on, I remember being in the back, and they had on the WWF on, and everyone was watching that, and I'm sure they were watching us, and everyone knew what the ratings were down to the second. And they were doing all that 316, and then, Austin would come out and give the guy the stunner, and that was great shit on their stuff, and we were doing great shit with the NWO, and, it was really good.
I think it spoiled a lot of fans, because I don't think we'll ever get, like, that period back again.
Yeah. I just think that they diluted the plot so much by having that Thursday show.
Yeah.
It really got out of hand, yeah.
And then going 3 hours with Nitro.
It was a lot of wrestling, yeah.
Great. What were your thoughts on Eric Bischoff? Did you talk to him much?
I saw him a little bit. He was really nice. Just good guy, smart businessman. I just think he got caught up in it a little bit. Wanted to be all part of the NWO and all that stuff and the space out there, which, he had a right to do it. He helped to build it. But, it's just too bad it all came to an end.
Were you surprised to see him eventually work for the WWE?
I figured he had to make some money somehow, so...
Right.
Yeah, I just was disappointed that they didn't do it earlier and have like a big sort of invasion angle. I thought that would have been better than what they did.
Yeah, it was built-in storyline. Like all the wrestling fans were like clamoring for it. I think. The night he debuts, he just hugged Vince McMahon.
Yeah, just somehow, under delivered to me. So
yeah. Well, we had him on a couple weeks ago, and I guess a month ago, and he said that eventually he would like to start another promotion again.
Right.
And, do you think that would be good for wrestling if there was another wrestling promotion out there?
Well, I'm sure that. I just find it very hard to do. I think the problem with wrestling right now is they're trying to tell the fans what they want them to watch instead of letting the fans tell the wrestler what they want to see, Mm-hmm. And I just think that, there's not a lot of venues for people to do different things and come up with it,
I talked to you a couple weeks ago, and I know you're a big fan of TNA.
Yeah, well, I have. I went and saw a TNA pay-per-view in person, and it was one of the best wrestling shows I've ever seen. And I watched the television show, and I just think it under-delivered what the pay-per-view does,
Right.
The pay-per-view was awesome. I mean, the people were on their feet the whole entire time. Guys were taking great bumps, really good matches. Everything was awesome. It was the night Sting fought Kurt Angle. Mm-hmm. They had it in the Gwinnett Civic Center. I mean, the place was packed. People were going crazy. But then I watched the television show. I'm just like, wow, this is a lot better in person, Mm-hmm. But they have interesting people there, and it's fun stuff. It's good.
A lot of talented people.
Yeah.
But the TV show, I don't know, storylines and stuff. Actually, I think takes away from the talented wrestlers instead of
adding. They have a break in every match. We have to go to the back for this. It's like,
yeah.
I want to watch wrestling,
Did you work with Vince Russo much?
Yeah, I just did one show for him when he, I guess, somebody canceled. He was doing those church shows, and it was the premiere one, and it was pretty good. I don't know if he went anywhere else with it, though, but yeah, he seemed like a nice enough guy, and
Did you got a question from the message board, Incher?
Yeah, I've got another question. Monty, he wants to know, why have you never worked for Vince?
It just never really worked out. They had told me they pretty much had a giant already, and they didn't need anybody else. So I was like, I can't really fight you on that one, so.
Now, I heard that you were witness to see a backstage fight once. I think it involved the Macho Man.
I was in Japan, and it was my second tour in Japan, and it was on the tour with me was Brad Armstrong and the Road Warriors, and then on the last 3 nights, they brought in the WCW guys, and it was Flair, the Big Show, Sting, and Macho Man. And so we were sitting there, and I was out in the ring, and they started playing Flair's music, and Flair was out there, and then they played Macho Man's music, and Macho Man didn't show up. So the promoter over there was like, well, go find out what's happening. So I go in the back, and right as I open the door, Hawk and the Macho Man are fighting in the middle of the locker room, and everyone's just sort of sitting there watching them fight, getting dressed, and it was like, holy shit. So, I mean, and Hawk hit him pretty good. Macho Man had a big shiner and all this stuff, and they got them separated, and then they fought again, and then I was just crazy drama in the locker room for the whole tour.
Did you ever see any other legit fights?
I missed the Paul Orndorff Vader fight by 5 minutes. I was driving into the building as Vader was driving out of the building. He almost hit me. And he was really nice to me as he's getting in his car. He's like, hey, buddy, how you doing? I'm like, oh, hey. And then I got there and I was like, oh, my God, you missed the greatest fight ever. And then when Orndorff took over the power plant, that was always his threat, hey, I beat the crap out of a 500-pound gorilla. I don't care. I'll kick it out of you guys, too. I was like, all right, whatever. You know, Orndorff is legitimately as crazy in real life as he's portrayed on television.
Yeah. I think he says, like, later on after WCW folded that, like, he found out he was bipolar, and he started taking medication for it.
I can see that.
Right?
I mean, he was crazy. He's a nice guy, but he was legitimately crazy.
Now, I gotta ask about your, if you go to IMDb, not IMDb, it's Wikipedia, you can read that you're currently a pro sandcastle builder.
That's right. Right now, I'm cruising around the streets of Atlanta trying to find some inspiration for the sandcastle building season coming up. I'm going to be hitting all over the East Coast. I've got some great stuff lined up in Florida. Might head up to Cape Cod and build some big castles this year.
Yeah, is that a lucrative career?
You know, paid in sand dollars. Pardon the terrible pun there, right?
All right.
It's good. It's good. You know, I have a sponsor, a bucket sponsor, and you know, just a lot of fun, a lot of beach, good times.
Excellent.
Have you considered a sand sculpture of the In Your Head crew as inspiration?
That might be nice. You know, we could do that.
I think
Awesome.
that's money right there.
Yeah. During your time with Raven's flock, how many times did you personally witness Raven decide that instead of him jobbing to somebody, maybe it should actually be one of the flock that did the job?
You know, Raven was sick a lot of times when he was with the flock. I think that was one. Well, maybe he was, you know, kayfabe and everybody. That's why he didn't want to do it. But he took some pretty brutal shots back. That was when the hardcore matches were very popular. So I have to say, you know, I just always felt sorry for Chris Benoit because it was always Benoit, Page, and Raven, and somehow Benoit always had to take the fall.
Somebody in the chat room, they when Van Hammer was part of the flock, was he cool with like the kind of looked like a transvestite? Was he all right with that look?
Yeah, pretty much everyone came up with their own gimmick on it. So what you see is what you get with him. I mean, he was really good, and he sort of had a little falling out with the flock, and we had to beat him up, and then he tried to sabotage us and all that stuff. So it was a ongoing soap opera.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, I heard that when they were doing the Misfits in Action, like he didn't want to be called Private Stash because then like he was only a private, so that's why they called him Major Stash.
You know, hey, yeah, each their own, right?
Right.
But, you know, the thing that you got to remember with wrestling is there's a lot of egos out there. You know, there's a reason, you know, that everyone, you know, just a lot of egos, and the bigger the wrestlers are, usually the bigger the ego. So, you know. And it's never really the matches taking a fall. It's always like the little stupid stuff like a name that's going to make everyone get excited. So,
yeah.
Yeah, so no one ever really remembers who took the fall.
The chat room wants to know what your thoughts on Goldberg.
You know, Bill was one of those guys that no one ever really thought was going to do it, and all of a sudden he just took off and was huge. And, you know, he's Mr. Atlanta there for a long time, and he ran through everybody, and it was fun seeing him be such a great star. Really a good guy too.
I was a big fan.
Yeah, I mean everyone went nuts for him. So now, were you a big fan? Do you think he like tried to steal Goldberg's or Stone Cold's gimmick a little bit, or?
I never got that. I know people said that, but I know he was. I think just the fact he was bald, I guess, and wore black trunks, but. Like, his style was completely different. He wasn't drinking beer, and he didn't talk. I think that was a big part of Stone Cold's gimmick. He was talking all the time.
What was Goldberg supposed to wear? Like hammer pants?
All I know is
dressed more like an MMA guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was sort of the gimmick that he was like, no, sort of a throwback, no bullshit. Well, I think one of the things that really worked for Bill was like there was at that time You know, the NWO would get on, and there was like 13 guys in the ring. Everyone wanted to have a 3-minute interview, so you know, the show was like an hour of just talk, and Bill would just get in there and handle his business, you know?
I know some people say like he didn't have a lot of moves, but I always thought all the moves he did, like maybe it's because he really was hurting you, but like they all looked like he was like, you know, really devastating the guy.
Now, you know, I worked with Bill like on the house shows for a few months, taking the jackhammer and the sledgehammer or whatever the hell it was. And I never had a problem with him. But other people were always like, he's killing me.
Yes, and the spear, it's one of the most copied moves out there.
It really is. I mean, it's such a basic move that you would have thought that, you know, no people would have picked up on it before, but now everyone has a spear.
What are your thoughts on Brock Lesnar winning the UFC championship?
You know, I honestly think that it's a work, but no one really, you know, I'm sure that I'm going to hear some crud about that, but I just think that,
I believe you.
You believe me?
Yep.
I just think that if the other guy wins, where are they going to go with it? But if Brock Lesnar wins, all of a sudden everyone's really excited about it now, and it's all over the television. It's on ESPN. Everyone's going crazy, you know. There's too much money in that for them to not control it a little bit.
Right.
Do you think like other wrestlers are happy for him, or do you think some of them are jealous, or what do you think like other wrestlers think about Lesnar going from wrestling and going to MMA and becoming champion?
Well, I'm sure they're jealous just because of the nature of the beast. But I gotta think you gotta be happy for it because it's showing that these guys really are athletes and stuff like that. So Lesnar, he was a pretty tough guy in college, and I'm sure I've never really met him, but I'm sure he's pretty tough up there in the WWE. So I wish him the best of luck. I like the MMA. I just think that they're having growing problems right now.
Now I don't know if you want to talk about the story or not, but the origins of the Big Sexy nickname.
Oh, when I first moved to Atlanta, there was a guy that was a roommate who tried out for WCW, and this guy he's about 6'3". His name's Luther Wilson. He's about 6'3", 320 pounds. Just not really a good physique on the guy, and he used to go out to these nightclubs and just get all kinds of women, and he called himself Big Sexy. And he goes down to Disney to go do a taping, and he says that he wants to go in the ring as Big Sexy. And Kevin Sullivan and Terry Taylor are like, it's just too racy. We can't call it. This is Saturday afternoon, and children are going to watch. We can't call you that. So the guy's like, all right, no problem. And he goes in by, I guess, like some other name, and 2 nights later, Kevin Nash is on Monday Night Nitro going, my new name is Big Sexy. So it was like a big joke, Kevin. No, I don't know. He's just, and then the guy called, Stephen Luther called him out later and said, like, hey, what's the deal? And Kevin Nash was like, hey, look, I trademarked that, so, I own it. Get this about it. So,
how much you can do about that, I guess.
Hey, that's what it's all about, is trademarking your image and getting it going.
Was there any more questions from the message board? Any good ones? I know there's probably other ones. But
I think we've been over all of them pretty much, as far as I can tell. Yeah.
I'm sure there's some really terrible ones that we won't bother asking. But
yeah,
that's what I'm trying to cover up for.
Right. Jai, do you have a question?
Yeah. You live in Atlanta?
I live in Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm going to wrestling school down there.
He needs a place to stay.
I'm sorry, I'm filled up for the holidays.
WW4A. I want to know your opinion on it.
I'm sorry, I had trouble hearing you.
WW4A.
Okay.
What's your opinion on it?
Is that a wrestling federation here?
Yeah, it's a school over there.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. It used to be good old days wrestling?
What?
I think Curtis Hughes is the trainer there.
Yeah, it's over on. It's a good wrestling school. I mean, there's a ton of wrestling fans and a ton of guys that want to wrestle in Atlanta. And at one time, Atlanta was, I'm going to have to say, the mecca of professional wrestling. It still is. I mean, there's still a ton of wrestlers living around here. Scott Norton, Lex Luger's around. The Steiners are still in town. You know, so this is a spot. If you want to get into wrestling, come on down. And I believe they're one of the better schools. They have 4 or 5 rings, all kinds of stuff.
Thank you. Have a happy holidays.
You too.
Thanks for calling in, Jai. Anything you'd like to tell everybody out there before I let you go?
That's it. Have a nice holidays. How's that?
Excellent. Oh, I think that's excellent.
And make sure you call your buddy from Jax and tell me about the Yeti action figure.
I will. I'll try to hook you up here because I don't think they have too much longer with the WWE contract.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they're trying to get as many legends out there as they can
All
before
right.
the new company takes over.
Oh, really? All right. Well, I will come pose as the Yeti.
I would buy it. Well, I hope I wouldn't have to buy it because obviously, yeah.
You'll get a
I
case.
think it would be a big seller.
Those are very collectible, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm convinced that they make action figures like 90% for adult collectors.
I saw the 4-year-old version the other night. That was really good when he's like, don't have a box. Ah!
Yeah, I mean, right in my, because I'm a cool happening dude, I have, an unopened Dusty Rhodes polka dot Hasbro WWE figure on the wall.
There's a couple guys around town here that I know that go to like closings of toy stores and all kinds of stuff and grab up those dolls and stuff.
Oh, but you see, you can't call them dolls.
Oh,
Exactly. That's not going to make the guys happy for calling them dolls. Did you ever get any action figure out?
I never did, but I was on the Nintendo game, which is pretty good.
Yeah. That was one of the best ones, actually.
Yeah, the sad thing is I went to like GameStop and the guy's like, oh yeah, that game's over there in the 50-cent bin. I was like, you bastard, you're killing me. It's like in the buy one, get 5 free, thing.
Right.
So that was like a hot thing back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Are you into the video games?
I just got my son a Wii for his birthday. His birthday was on Thanksgiving. So I am getting into it, yes.
What were you still with WCW when WWF bought it? Or WWE bought it?
No, I was not. They had let me go in February, so I think they were a couple months before they bought it out.
Was there any reason they told you why they let you go, or was it just because they
were letting go
cut costs? Yeah.
No, I don't think they were like really letting go of people. I just think they were not renewing people's contracts. It always a deal of when your contract was coming up. Your contract was coming up, they just were not renewing deals.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, we'll give you a nightly deal, but can't guarantee you any nights or anything like that. It's like, well, that's not really that great of a deal then,
Yeah. Did you ever think that WCW would actually be bought by WWE?
People always have this big joke that the reason the NWO came down here was like Vince McMahon was sent them down here to destroy the WCW, and then he was going to buy it. And that was like a big sort of joke rumor around the locker room. But what happened, So I don't know.
It was like, even though you weren't with the company, were you was it kind of depressing that WCW was going out of business?
Well, I thought that they were going to do some really good stuff with it, and then it just never really did anything. Everyone was so wow, this is going to be great. You're going to see all the matches that we wanted to see: Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Goldberg, and all this great stuff, and it just never materialized, So.
Yeah, I mean, they basically ended up, they put Austin with the WCW side, so, you pretty much just got WWE guys feuding with WWE guys.
Yeah, I mean, just never. I don't know. It's, under-delivered. It just never really got to where you thought it was going to go.
Yeah. Buck here in the chat room, he wants to know, how tall are you, legitimately?
I am 7'2".
Oh, man. It's almost as tall as me.
Right.
Were you, do you still watch wrestling?
Yeah, I watch a little bit on Friday nights, but I can't say that I watch much of it.
Like, were you like a big wrestling fan before you actually got into wrestling?
I went to go see WrestleMania #1 at like the local movie theater. I watched Sunday morning, and when I was younger, then when I got into high school, I watched every once in a while. And in college, I was so busy, I watched a little bit, but if it was on and I wasn't doing anything, I definitely would watch it. But I couldn't say that I was like a real true gung ho guy.
All right. Everybody in chat room saying it was good listening to you. It's good hearing from you.
All right.
We'll try to hook you up. I don't know. We've got people trying to get you booked on conventions.
Okay.
So we'll see if we'll see how much they're paying you.
Hey, that's all that matters, right?
Right. We'll ask for 10% finder's fee.
Okay, great. I'll pay you in figurines.
Sandcastles.
Sand dollars. I'll pay you in sand dollars.
Oh man.
Oh, that's a deal.
It's a hot currency.
Yeah. Well, we always like to ask if you had any memorable road story.
No. Nothing too memorable.
Yeah. Everyone was too afraid to play like too many ribs on you, I would think.
It was always fun. I had a good time on the road. Mm-hmm. I was the designated driver for the flock, so we always got like some crappy minivan and drove.
Do you like miss being like part of the business?
I miss the camaraderie and have the locker room. Miss the money. I'm not gonna lie to you. Don't really miss taking the bumps. Don't miss traveling like that much. Do
you like keep in touch with a lot of the people, or not too many people?
I keep in touch with some people, but not a ton.
I know. Yeah, I guess you keep in touch with Scott Norton.
Scott Norton, yes. My wife and Scott Norton's wife are very close, and I talk to them quite a bit. I'm on Facebook, so people Facebook me. So
yeah, Facebook. It's better than it's the new MySpace. MySpace is old news. It's Facebook.
Yeah, I never got into MySpace, but I just had my 20th high school reunion, and they did a virtual reunion on Facebook. So that's how I got involved in that, and then it just took off. So
yeah,
crazy.
And that's where I found you, was on.
That's where I met you guys, so it was good.
Yeah, you were the first guest I ever set up through the Facebook.
Well, there you go. You'll always be a milestone for you.
Exactly. And I'm not making this up. I've said many times on the show I've always wanted to get you on the show.
That's true.
Because I could have the Yeti on a banner, but I always thought you were good. I always enjoyed you on the television.
The Yeti is defrosted and ready to go. There you go on your show.
Do you have any like memorabilia? Like, did you keep any of the tapes from you on TV?
I have the tapes and stuff, and I have the secret map to the Dungeon of Doom.
Oh man.
Yes. It's a very difficult place to get to. There's only like 4 or 5 out there. I think Hugh Morris might have a map. A couple other guys have the map, but we can't. It's very difficult to get to.
Yeah. When
Curtis has been stuck in that damn hole for like 10 years now.
Do you think kind of the Dungeon of Doom, not necessarily the Dungeon of Doom, but just that whole kind of like character and kind of like weird characters and kind of corny, kind of fun stuff like missing from wrestling?
It was funny because one part of the wrestling, like the WWE was going with that like adult theme, and then WCW sort of going with the kids thing with like the dungeon,
Right.
I mean, a lot of adults are really going to believe there's this place called the Dungeon of Doom, and you know,
You're breaking my heart.
yeah, well, you know,
Right.
like
Well,
you're driving down the exit, and it's like exit 74, Dungeon of Doom to your right. You know, put it in your GPS thing. It's like Dungeon of Doom to your right, 3 miles, or.
Well, I guess they always have Undertaker though in WWE.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, he does some adult. Well, yeah, he's not. It's funny. Sometimes he goes like very like biker, and then he comes back and he's very Undertakish.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of seems like what he wants to do. He does, and it gets over. So.
Yeah. You think it's just? I don't know. I think there's part of fans that want to get into something like that.
Yeah, I mean, sort of disbelief and get away from reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was a good idea.
Is there anybody like you would have liked to work with and never got a chance to?
No, I got to work with a lot of guys. It was fun. Benoit and Guerrero I got to work with. You know, that was really cool. I went on tour with Malenko and Benoit and Guerrero. That was really good. So, yeah, I really got to appreciate the cruiserweights on that tour. So it was really interesting.
Did you prefer like working with the smaller guys?
Yeah, because I really didn't have to take that many bumps.
Right.
With the bigger guys, you got to take the big bump. With the little guys, you can toss their asses around. So
yeah, that usually makes for a better match.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a problem maybe selling for a smaller guy?
No, I never really got into that. You know, a lot of those guys like don't oversell. I mean, I really didn't think I oversold for the little guys, but I just never really got too much into the ego with it. Maybe that was a bad thing for me, but I never, I didn't have a problem selling for those guys.
Is there anybody in particular that you're glad that you don't keep in touch with and hope you never see again?
No, there's not too many guys like that.
There's nobody you want to name.
Pretty good guys.
Yeah.
I just
Besides us.
So many guys died.
What was that?
I'm just disappointed that so many people have passed away in wrestling. Jerry Toot the Wall, he was a really good guy. Big Boss Man was a great guy. Johnny Grunge was a good guy. Rocco Rock, good guys. I mean, a lot of people passed away and, help on their families.
What? Because in Bret Hart's book, he actually says he thinks the worst thing in wrestling is the pain pills. He says they're worse than the steroids.
Yeah.
What would you think is why are there so many wrestlers that die young?
I just think a lot of it has to do with the pain pills. You look at all those guys who have died, it's a lot of pain pills. And it's just not, taking 2 pain pills a day. These guys are up to 10, 12, 14 pills a day. Just unbelievable amounts.
You think it's because of the size of the guys, or because there's no off season? So
yeah, and then they all find a marked doctor who wants to give them all these pills and everything. So it's just not healthy. And then being on the road all the time, that's a tough on the body and stuff like that. So,
Did you ever get into anything like that when you were in wrestling?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, I've taken pain pills, but I never really an addiction to where I was, up to 10 or 12 pills a day. Yeah, anybody who's taking pain pills will tell you they're not bad, but just to that point where it never really got out of control.
Could you see if if they put a belt on you or were giving you a big program, and you had to do big matches, and could you see yourself easily getting into pain pills? You could see how other wrestlers would fall into that.
Yeah, it was all like that. The whole clique there of those guys was all part of that deal. There was to get on the road and just whoop it up, and pain pills and booze and all kinds of crazy stuff. So yeah, those guys they lived a life.
When
a lot of them paid for it.
When the guys would pass away, in WCW, and Oh, who was he was
You
in a
know what was
wrestle.
really big in WCW was that GHB.
Yeah.
Skip.
Did they do a lot of drug testing in WCW?
Yeah. The thing was they drug tested everyone, but the big question was who sees the results of the drug test, you know? So,
Right.
you know, if no one really cares what the results are, then you can say you drug test. But there was like, you know, I guess they reprimanded some people. But, you looked at the guys who were taking the drug test, and you're like, you know, there's no way these guys can fail or pass, you know, they're you know, growing up all good, so.
We've had some wrestlers on here who actually, like Diamond Dallas Page. I mean, he said right on the show that, and some other people that they thought steroids were actually good for the business. And they're not bad for you as long as you don't, I guess, abuse them.
Sure. That's a big school of thought, yeah. I mean, you know, it's just hard to, like, keep that mass on while you're training so hard. And it's good for, you know, to rehab injuries. I just think, you know, it's one of those deals, if, you know, one shot's good, then 2 shots has got to be good, and then 3 shots has got to be better. Next thing you know, you're loading up.
Right.
If there was one thing you want to be remembered for, what would that be?
For being the Yeti.
Exactly.
A lot of guys have tried to screw Hogan, and I literally did.
I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, a lot of people mention it. We weren't going to.
Right.
Very popular.
Right.
To be as honest with you as possible, I mean, it was just an accident that happened, but I guess I have to be known for that, right?
Exactly.
So, did you feel the need to shower after that, or the need to never shower again?
Well, you know, when Hogan gave me a cigarette afterwards, I was like, oh, God, what's going on?
Left the money on the nightstand.
I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was going on, but I came in the back and I could see everyone's face and what happened wasn't good. So I was like, oh.
How long did it take to, like, put that suit on?
It took, like, all day, man. They had me all dressed up forever. It was terrible.
Could you see very well in it?
No, I couldn't see at all, and they expected all this stuff. I was like, you know, you guys, I mean, you don't want to tell them, like, hey, I can't do this because, you know, they're going to, you know, send you wherever they want to send you. But I was just like, oh, God, this is not good.
What exactly, like, was it one big suit, or did they have to, like, wrap all that stuff around you?
No, they just wrapped all kinds of stuff around me.
Rocking.
So, yeah, I mean, it was really sort of like they were making it as they were going. Put the dust on. Oh, yeah, that'd be great. It's like, oh, God.
When you were walking with, like, your arms out kind of like a mummy or a zombie, was that just something
that was all I
doing?
lived. I was trying to figure out what someone would do, you know.
Right.
I was very just by the seat of your pants, keep going, you know. So, you know, it was interesting.
Are you glad in a way that character didn't keep going, since you wouldn't have to get into costume every week?
Right. I mean, how would I have matches? That was what I was like trying to figure out, you know. But you know, it was just really weird. And the funny thing is when they debuted me like on a Thursday Night Thunder show. And they had me in a block of ice, and they blew up the block of ice, and here I am wrapped in paper, and they're like, you know, blowing up shit around me, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to catch on fire. Right. They called the pyrotechnics guy over there, and he had like a fire extinguisher, and just to like put me out if I caught on fire, I'm like, oh my God, this is not going to be good.
We got one last caller here. He's calling in from Portugal. We got Joel on the line.
Indeed. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Sorry, I didn't.
You said good of yourself.
I'm doing fine as well. I got 2 quick questions. One, I don't know. I hope it's hasn't been asked yet. But the character the Yeti, did you thought that even though it was a stupid character, I think everybody can admit it was a stupid character, but do you think that it had some, it could go any further? Did you think that it could caught on? That it did have a chance to caught on, or do you think that it was ruined from the first minute?
I didn't see any long-term, the Yeti going to a 10-year run, but people sort of, remember it. So I guess it's like,
Yeah.
it is.
What was the other question there, Joel? Joel.
You one day you will know how to say my name.
Joel.
The second question, yeah, exactly, almost there. The second question is, and again, I hope I wasn't listening to the show, unfortunately, but I'm gonna ask the question again. I hope nobody has
the
asked.
show and insult the guest saying it was a stupid guest, a stupid character.
No, the character was. I'm a reasonable fan. The second question is, how was WCW the backstage environment? Was it? I guess you had a chance to meet with Hogan and all the big players backstage. How was it? The environment during those days?
It was love. It was really nice. Everyone was really friendly, and everyone was having a good time. We were one of the top rated shows, and everyone was making money, so it was all good.
I see.
Thanks for calling in, Joel. Joel.
Thank you for screaming at me, Jack. Thank you.
All right. Thanks again, Ron. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry you had to talk to that Portuguese guy.
It's all right. Hey, how you guys have a great holiday? Have a great Christmas. Happy New Year.
This is Bill DeMott, a.k.a. Hugh Morris. You're listening to InYourHeadOnline.com.